Hey guys, so sometimes you get an objection to Christianity or to belief in God that throws you off. You don't know how to respond. You don't really know what they mean, and maybe even you actually feel foolish. Well, I had someone this week that reminded me of something that the famous actor, comedian Ricky Gervais had said on a talk show, and I've heard him repeat it in other places where he said to the talk show host about believing in God, he said, "Look, I just reject one more God than you do. I reject 3,000 gods. You reject 2,999 gods of history. So there, and it kind of seems like the sort of thing where you're like, well, how do I respond to that? Now, of course, it was a longer conversation, and you could find out what was implied by it by the nature of the conversation. So it's hard to just take one line necessarily and deal with it. But that's kind of what I want to do today, is just deal with that one line and maybe some of the context of that conversation that he had. And I think there's a couple of things to say, because ultimately there's an implicit challenge in how he responded, in that he's saying that all gods are just the same. And you obviously believe that they're not the same. You believe that Yahweh God, as we believe in the God of the Bible, has revealed himself through human history in very unique and specific ways. And to just lump them in as all being the same is really not right. So the implicit challenge in that is that they're all just the same. However, I think the issue for me with someone like how Ricky Gervais was in this situation that I'm interested in was, as he expressed in the conversation, was his agnostic atheist. So he says, I don't really believe in God, but I just don't think you can know. His agnosticism, I suspect, he may not admit this, sounds like hard agnosticism, which basically means I don't know and you can't know, as opposed to soft agnosticism, I don't know but I think you can find out. I think when you're dealing with someone that's a hard agnostic, they don't believe you can know. It's literally impossible to go anywhere. And then the conversation there for me would come down to, how do you convince that what you believe in? How would you ever find truth? If there was a God, how could he ever get to you? And that's the kind of thing that I'd want to check in this situation. If someone said something like that I know isn't true, I'd want to know, well, if God was the only God, would you actually follow him? If God of the Bible was revealed in Jesus, would you follow him? Like, what would he have to do to convince you? Like, are you open to the truth? If Christianity were true, would you become a Christian? I've met people that struggle to answer that question. I'm like, are you not interested in following the truth? Again, hard agnostics are like, you've made your mind up, you believe a certain truth, and where did you get that from? Like, why do you believe that we just can't even know? So I want to check their openness, and this is what I do in this situation. Are you open to the idea that God may be the only way? Could he even convince you? If I'm right and you're wrong in this situation, could you even be convinced? Are you open to the truth? Why have you? And then a question that I'd want to ask then is, if he says that they are open to the truth and they have investigated, well, I would want to know, well, then why have you, if you don't mind me asking, have you rejected the God who claims to have created the world, all humanity, revealed himself through his word, and then revealed himself in human form on the earth as Jesus Christ? Can you tell me what it is about that you reject? Because it's not the same for a lot of reasons, and we can go into many reasons. It's not the same to reject the 2,999 gods versus this God. There are only three monotheistic religions on the earth, and Christianity is one of them. All gods are not the same. But are you, again, like I said earlier, are you willing to engage in the evidence to find out if God has revealed himself? And one of the things this made me think of, this idea of, it's just one of many, all these other ones weren't right, so the one that you believe and I reject isn't right either, because it's just the same as all these other ones. And I thought, we've got to engage with the evidence, and that's what I want to find out. We've got to engage with what's true and what's right. And I think for me, this hit home for me. I've had a very negative view of men growing up. My dad had left at a young age. I had no contact with him. I just grew up thinking he's completely disinterested in me. My mum had another boyfriend at one time that was, let's just say, not very nice. And and school teachers, even boys at school, had a very negative view of men and boys. And then my stepdad came along. I'm like, it's just another man. Doesn't know us. He's not related to us. He seems a bit funny around us. Of course he was. He all of a sudden got 2 kids in a relationship, and then he became a stepdad. And of course at the start I was like, well, this guy's no different from all the others. I can't put any trust or faith in this guy, just like all the rest. because I've yet to really meet a decent man. I was wrong. Thank goodness I was wrong. I had to engage with him and find out that actually, you know what, this guy's a genuine, sincere man who I ended up loving very much and knew loved and cared about me. I'm glad I was wrong. But what I'm saying about this is you can't just say everything's the same as an answer. You've got to explain why you don't believe something, or why, for us, why something is different. You've got to remain open to the evidence. I think that's what I'd say is I want to find out in terms of his response and many responses I get. Are you open? Will you follow the evidence where it leads to? And again, just dealing with that implicit challenge that all gods are the same. Are you open to me explaining to you why the God of the Bible revealed himself through Jesus, prophesied before he came, created the world, and of course the list goes on? Are you willing to even listen to the evidence I could present to you today and see what you think? Let me know what you think of this today. Thanks for listening.